Shalom and Shavua Tov, Israel briefers from around the world. Thank you for joining me, Rolene Marks, for another week where I take a look at the top stories making headlines here in Israel that you might not see in your media around the world, but rest assured I have you covered. So from everywhere around the world, from Trinidad and Tobago right up to Montreal in Canada and everywhere in between, our lovely community gets together to take a look at those headlines. Now, for the next 2 days, I will be in Jerusalem. I'm attending the World Zionist Congress there. Yes, guys, no secret handshakes, no secret plans to take over the world. Just some people who believe in the existence of the State of Israel all getting together to look at how we can best improve on situations. So rest assured, for the conspiracy theorists out there, no secret cabal is meeting. So the Israel brief might come to you at a different time than you used to, and probably from my hotel room. But Thursday, I will be back in my office to bring you those headlines. And as always, we love your questions, and boy, have you been sending me some brilliant questions, including the one from Sylvia Ehrlich today, which I'm going to get to a little later. And if I forget to ask your question, please remind me. And as always, every Thursday we take a look at your choice of mensch, that's the great person, or the moron of the week. And of course we do it in plural because there's usually a lot of different opinions. So make sure that you get that through to me either via our website or via our social media. So let's get into it. Today is day 752. And as we have been reminding you for the last 2 years, there are still 13 hostages that remain in the Gaza Strip. Now, these are hostages who are deceased, either having been taken, the remains taken on the 7th of October after they were murdered, or murdered in captivity, with the exception of Hadar Golden, whose remains Hamas are still holding onto. He fell during Operation Protective Edge in 2014. We want to bring all of them home for a dignified burial. So let's start with the issue of hostages. And President Trump has given Hamas 48 hours to return the remains of all the remaining deceased hostages. Now, that deadline is set to expire later today. In his tweet on his Truth Social platform, the president of the USA said that he is watching very closely. He says Hamas must hand back the bodies of hostages they still hold onto. He says otherwise those involved in the great peace will get more involved. So I think that's some kind of, what I'm reading into that is that the mediating countries will start to apply real pressure, and we might even see a return to military pressure. Meanwhile, an Israeli official believes that Hamas know or have access to at least 9 of the 13 hostages. Hamas, a little earlier today, are reported to have told a mediator that they can get to 7 to 9 of those hostages. Now, you guys know the process. Those remains are then handed over to the Red Cross, who then hand them over to the IDF, and the remains go to Abu Kabir. That is the Forensic Institute here in Israel, the National Forensic Institute, where forensic tests are done on those remains to see if they are a match. We can't forget that twice Hamas have handed us the bodies of hostages that aren't in fact them. The first occasion was with Shiri Bibas. It was the body of a Palestinian woman. And just a couple of weeks ago, it was the remains of a Palestinian who Hamas had used as a human shield. Now, the Hostages and Missing Families Forum released a statement earlier today saying that Hamas knows where all of the bodies are, and that the government of Israel must continue to apply pressure to the terrorist organization. Now, for the first time in 2 years, the Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has lifted the emergency situation in southern Israel. Since the 7th of October, the south of the country was subject to a emergency situation, which meant that there could be no gatherings of a certain amount of people, that certain parts of the south were off limits to everybody except for military personnel. So this is based on the recommendations of the Home Front Command, so there are now no restrictions, and we can look forward, hopefully, to a lot of tourism, to a lot happening in the south who really, really need it. The U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has said that the U.S. do not view Israel's strike on a Palestinian terrorist that was about to commit a terror act against Israeli military personnel as a violation of the ceasefire. Rubio said that all mediators agree that Israel has the right to self-defense. Now, just over the last couple of days, a member of Palestinian Islamic Jihad was about to commit a terror act against the IDF, and the IDF took him out. So that is not viewed as a violation of the ceasefire. Meanwhile, according to a readout from the U.S. State Department, the U.S. Secretary of State and Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke on the phone earlier today. We don't have details about the phone call, but we do know that the Joint Chief of Staff from the U.S. is headed to Israel in the coming days. And finally, Yosi Sharabi, the brother of Eli Sharabi, whose remains were returned to us nearly 2 weeks ago, has been laid to rest on Kibbutz Be'eri. On the 7th of October, Yosi, along with his daughter's boyfriend, Ophir Engel, were taken hostage by Hamas during the attacks and the atrocities of that day. Now we know the story of Eli Sharabi, Yosi's brother, who was also taken captive, and I really urge you all to read his excellent book, Hostage. It is now available in English. It is a New York Times bestseller, and I feel it's so important that people understand what these hostages endured in captivity. Yosi was taken alive, and he was killed in captivity. He was returned to Israel, and his wife Nira and 3 daughters, as well as his 2 brothers Eli and Sharon and his other sister Ophir, laid him to rest in the soil of the kibbutz he loved so much. Incredible eulogies, and I must say it was very, very emotional to watch the funeral. I feel like we know these families so well. They are such a part of us, and we certainly feel the pain of the entire community of Kibbutz Be'eri. Yosi, you have returned to Israel. You have returned to lay in eternal rest. We hold your family in our love, in our affections. May your memory be eternally blessed. So guys, those are your top stories. Let's take Sylvia's excellent question, and she says, this is a sensitive question, but she says, how does Abu Kabir know who the hostages are and the foreign nationals? Sylvia, I love that you are so sensitive to this, and it's an important question because many people want to know how we are able to identify hostages. So in the hours and the days following the attacks of the 7th of October, families were asked to come down to various places, including Abu Kabir, Shura, police stations, hospitals, and give DNA evidence. And through this, the forensics teams are able to match that. The attacks of the 7th of October were so depraved and on such a magnitude that our forensic experts, our forensic pathologists, including dental pathologists, are extremely, extremely advanced and are able to do the testing quite rapidly, and also thanks to the families giving whatever DNA they possibly could. And I just want to take a moment and acknowledge Dr. Gen Kugel. He is the head of the Forensic Institute, and his team who work around the clock, who did since the 7th of October, who've worked around the clock as the remains of hostages come in, regardless of weekends, regardless of religious holidays. They're there for the families, and they work. I can't even imagine what they have seen over the last 2 years. Their work and their commitment is extraordinary. Dr. Kugel, if you're watching, and your team, thank you. Thank you for all that you are doing. So Sylvia, I hope that answers your question. And guys, reminder, if you have any questions, please pop them on through to me. And that's it for today. But don't forget to join me tomorrow in Jerusalem. In the meantime, please check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our neighborhood dog says hello, guys. I know you get very concerned when you don't hear him, but he's there. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel Brief. I would really, really love it if you hit that red subscribe button. We are on Facebook at Lottel's site, on Instagram at Rolene_Marks, on LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, on Substack at Rolene Marks. And if there are any I'm forgetting, you guys will remind me. So guys, see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.